House shall now come to order. First, we would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Áron Tallósi, and I am honored to be serving as your President of General Assembly at BIMUN 2026.
I am Blanca Pajor, and it is my pleasure to be here as the Deputy President of the General Assembly.
Dear participants and honorable guests, it is with great pleasure that we welcome you to the opening ceremony of the 14th annual session of Budapest International Model United Nations. We would like to extend a special welcome to Mr. András Kampós, Headmaster of Eötvös Secondary School, Ms. Andrea Becker, Ms. Ilona Matula, Mr. Csongor Farkas, Deputy Headmasters of Eötvös Secondary School, and Ms. Tünde Holik, Mr. Norbert Mondyi, Mr. Martin Rémai, the responsible teachers for the organization of this conference, and thank them for their help in making BIMUN 2026 a possibility. Last but not least, we would like to thank all of the student organizers for giving us the platform to create meaningful dialogue and be able to organize BIMUN once again.
We kindly ask everyone to behave respectfully and remain mindful of their conduct throughout the event, because it will be broadcasted online.
We will start the opening ceremony with a roll call. If you hear your country's name, please raise your placard high and say present. This shall be done by the ambassador. Arab Republic of Egypt, Argentine Republic, Australia, Canada, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Federal Republic of Germany, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Federative Republic of Brazil, French Republic, Hellenic Republic, Hungary, Islamic Republic of Iran, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Italian Republic, Japan, Kingdom of Denmark, Kingdom of Norway, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Sweden, Kingdom of the Netherlands, Montenegro,
People's Republic of China, Republic of Chad, Republic of Estonia, Republic of Finland, Republic of India, Republic of Kenya, Republic of Korea, Republic of Mali, Republic of Poland, Republic of South Africa, Republic of South Sudan, Republic of the Niger, Republic of Sudan, Republic of Turkey, Russian Federation, State of Israel, Syrian Arab Republic, Republic of China, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, United Mexican States, United States of America. First of all, we will be hearing a speech from the organizing school's headmaster, Mr. András Kampós. Following him, the Secretary General of our conference, Her Excellency Ms. Petra Sipos, is going to deliver the opening speech.
After that, Dr. David Chikvaidze, former Chef de Cabinet of the United Nations Office at Geneva's Director General, will deliver his keynote speech.
We will also listen to the greeting video directed to MUN conferences of His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations.
After the keynote speakers, we are going to introduce the committee chairs and rapporteurs and then hold a short break.
Now, I would like to introduce Mr. András Kampós, Headmaster of Eötvös Secondary School. You have the floor.
Dear delegates, distinguished chairs, honored guests, and dear colleagues, It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to BIMUN. It is a true privilege to lead a school whose students, year after year, demonstrate outstanding dedication in organization, in social awareness, in their command of English, and in the hospitality they extend to all of you. I would especially like to thank my colleagues, and in particular, Ms. Tunde Holik, who recognized the potential of this project early on and through many years of committed work built BIMUN into one of the most prestigious programs of our school, our school offers today. Please allow me to take a slightly personal perspective and to share a few thoughts that may guide you in the days ahead. For me and for our school community, BIMUN is, above all, a pedagogical project. No matter how seriously we take the political content, you are here first and foremost to grow. By definition, competence has three components: knowledge, skills, and attitude. Over the past months, you have built your knowledge, researching, analyzing, preparing yourselves for meaningful debates. You have also developed your skills: linguistic, communicational, organizational, interpersonal, all essential for participating effectively. And now the setting, this conference, brings these together. It creates an atmosphere that challenges you to perform at your best. This is what shapes your attitude, your willingness to engage, to take responsibility, to take it seriously. BIMUN is therefore not just a conference. It is a carefully designed learning environment. And I encourage you not to forget why you're here. There is, however, another dimension that is personally very important to me. This conference also has the power to strengthen the values that underpin a well-functioning society, and this depends greatly on you. When I was in your age, in the 1990s, Europe was full of hope. I still feel deeply moved when I see images of that time. Trabant cars crossing into West Berlin, the Soviet army leaving Central Europe, flowers covering Wenceslav Square in Prague, or the former imprisoned human rights leader Nelson Mandela becoming president of South Africa. It was a time defined by hope, reconciliation, and the belief that the world could be rebuilt on better foundations. I'm not saying you live in a worse time, and neither do I want to paint the colors of a varying future. And the reason is very simple. I believe that the future does not exist, we create it. And that comes with responsibility. In your debates, no matter how intense they may become, no matter how deeply you represent your assigned country, please remember this. You are not here to imitate the worst of global politics, but to model its very best. Show us what constructive dialogue looks like, show respect for different opinions, be willing to listen, to reconsider, and to cooperate. Choose solidarity over selfishness, sustainability over short-term thinking, reconciliation over anger, understanding over hatred. If you do this, BIMUN will be more than a simulation. It will be a meaningful contribution to the world you are about to shape. Let me finish by wishing you an inspiring and enjoyable conference. Remember, you are learning and you are also playing. And this kind of play matters. because through it we express our expectations about the future. Enjoy your time at Eötvös, in Budapest, in Hungary. I wish you all a successful conference, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Kampos. Now we would like to introduce Ms. Petra Sipos, Secretary General of BIMUN 2026. You have the floor.
Distinguished guests, welcome. On behalf of the entire organizing committee, it is my great honor to welcome you from across the globe, from Egypt and Mexico, from neighboring countries, and from all across Europe. We are truly deeply honored to have you with us in this room today, and that you have chosen to spend the next week with us debating, having fun, enjoying springtime in Budapest, and making memories together. 15 years. That is how long this conference has been bringing young minds together to wrestle with the world's hardest questions. I have followed this conference with close attention throughout my years in high school, first as a delegate sitting where many of you are sitting now, and later as part of the team that makes it run. What I have witnessed over those years is this. With every passing session, the world around us has grown more entangled, more complex, more volatile, and more urgent. And I say this without exaggeration. When our team sat down this year to choose the topics and draft the crisis scenarios, it was sadly the easiest it was ever before. Because the crises are all around us. Economic rivalry between the world's superpowers, technology evolving under the blink of an eye, and wars resurfacing in the Middle East, in Southeast Asia, and close to home here in Europe. Reading the news has become more of a shock with each day passing. Now I would like to be honest with you, and being honest sometimes requires saying difficult things. Politics, as they are practiced today, too often disappoints us. Politicians twist narratives, act on their personal interest, and treat public service as a game of power and influence way too often. That is the world your represented diplomats operate in. And yes, your job as delegates is to step into their shoes, to argue their positions, and to advance their national interests. But here's my challenge to you. I challenge you to imagine a version of diplomacy that is not about leverage and gain, but about service, humility, and integrity. Imagine what becomes possible when the people in the room actually want to solve a problem rather than win the argument. If I have learned one thing in the 5 years of doing this, it is that honesty, real unguarded honesty, and what I will call our naive creativity, the kind that comes precisely because we are young and we have not yet learned to be cynical, that is something that today's political landscape is desperately short of. So I am not asking you to forget that you are delegates. I am asking you to remember that you're also young people. Embrace that. Bring your talent into this chamber, not to get ahead of the person beside you, but to lift everyone in this room a little higher. The world does not need more skilled players of a broken game. It needs people who are willing to change the rules. Those people are you, and this is your week to prove it. BIMUN, however, is not only about what happens in these committee rooms. It is about everything in between. It is about the conversations that start awkwardly during a coffee break and end in a friendship that lasts years. It is about seeing Budapest, this extraordinary city, and carrying a little piece of it home with you. It is also about the boat trip on the Danube, the official party, the moments where the formal titles fall away and you're just a bunch of students laughing, dancing, and when I'm not paying attention, occasionally stealing podiums. These moments matter just as much as the resolutions you pass. They are the reason that people come back, and they're the reason that 15 years on, this conference is alive and thriving. So give everything you have in the committees, on the dance floor, and everywhere in between. Make the speeches worth remembering, make the friendships worth keeping. Give it your absolute all. Take this message with you as I do the honors of declaring the 15th annual session of the Budapest International Model United Nations Conference officially open.
Thank you, Ms. Petra Sipos. Now we would like to yield the floor to Dr. David Chikvaidze, former Chef de Cabinet, the UN Office at Geneva's Director General. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Secretary General, for those inspiring words. They really are. And I hope that countries heed them. Your Excellency, President of the United Nations General Assembly, Madam Secretary General, the whole world is waiting to say these words, actually, at the beginning of next year. Your Excellencies, Ministers of Foreign Affairs, permanent representatives of the member states, Headmaster Campos, who has just left, honorable students, faculty, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege to address you today at this very special session, although it's 14th but 15th year of the existence of BIMUN. For 15 years now, your predecessors and you have been part of a very special initiative, indeed a brand which has many iterations around the world. The Model United Nations is the largest and most impressive mechanism for teaching young people to take care about the world we live in, about the rights of others. It is amazing schooling in the art of learning to work with people of different cultures and achieving results together. And it is the most effective point of entry into the world and ideals of the United Nations for students from various races, religions, and backgrounds. The United Nations just turned 80 last year. Is it a perfect mechanism? Have its results always been successful as intended? Has the organization been everything to every one of its members? No. Democracy is never perfect, neat, and tidy, particularly international multilateral democracy on a universal scale. The state of our world is very much a reflection of the contradictions of life. We have a multitude of achievements to be proud of and build on, yet we are burdened with many dark pages of the past and are facing daunting tasks of tackling some fundamental problems. Poverty, hunger, illness, conflict, uneven globalization have pushed young people prematurely into adult roles and responsibilities. We face such looming existential threats as the climate crisis, global mistrust at all levels, and the downsides of technological progress. To further complicate things, we no longer live in a multipolar world, in a bipolar world, or a unipolar world, but not yet in a multipolar world either. Rather in a unsettled world with multiple actors of different caliber and clashing interests, and often isolationist politics of fear and resentment. We have just closed out the 21st century, the first quarter of the 21st century, yet our instincts are as instincts that are born of human nature, mind you, are as primitive as they were at the dawn of civilization. If you want something, get a bigger stick than your neighbor and go get it. The sticks, in the meantime, have become very, very sophisticated weapons that kill a lot of people. Russia's vicious, brutal war in Ukraine has been almost overshadowed in its 5th year by the heretofore simmering Iranian flashpoint exploding into a full-scale war that has engulfed the entire Middle East, adding significantly to the state of belligerent uncertainty the world finds itself in, encompassing the savage conflicts in nearby regions and further afield. The world is acutely feeling the ramifications of the war in the Persian Gulf and bracing itself for more. Both of these conflicts not only threaten the economic well-being of most of the world, both are wars of choice, prosecuted by permanent members of the United Nations Security Council who, on paper, here bear special responsibility for the maintenance of peace and security. The return of war as the tool of choice has almost entirely sidelined the multilateral diplomacy mechanisms set up over 80 years ago. And this has been done in favor of multipolarity, or at best of multilateralism in groups. Yet multipolarity without strong, accepted, and properly used multilateral instruments is inherently unstable, volatile, and dangerous. And the multilateralism of like-minded groups is at best a placebo for particular situations and cannot take the place of universal multilateralism. As you tackle these and other issues and grapple with the terminology as members of the Model United Nations, you need to be clear about the term United Nations. In everyday usage, whether by diplomats, journalists, or civil society, the term UN, by ignorance or intent, is substituted in their minds by the term UN Secretariat. In reality, the UN Secretariat is just one of the 5 principal organs of the organization. Yet it is the object of all the criticism and, importantly, of budget cutting, which is passed off as reform. Relentless cutting of the budget of one principal organ, however, is not reform. It is budget cutting for one principal organ. So when you hear the very fashionable phrase that has become a rather annoying mantra, the UN needs to be fit for purpose. Well, yes, precisely right. It does, but it is the member states of the organization that should get together under Article 109 of the Charter to discuss and determine what is the purpose of their organization 81 years into its existence, and then give instructions to the hired manager, the Secretary General, what they want him or her to do to achieve these objectives and what resources they will make available to implement them. The situation is quite the reverse today. Succeeding Secretaries General engage in preemptive budget cutting of the Secretariat to the extent of self-mutilation in the vain hopes of staying off deeper cuts down the road. They are also doing their best to come up with increasingly grandiose, strategic roadmaps and get the member states to engage beyond their lofty words from a high rostrum and the adoption of all-encompassing documents that none of them have any real intention to implement. It is truly an uphill battle. In this sense, the past general debate of the 80th session of the General Assembly was a disappointment, and in my mind, a lost opportunity. They could have engaged in special discussions of the priorities of the organization in its 81st year. Instead of that, it was conducted as business as usual. The United Nations organization, and more specifically, and quite undeservedly, the UN Secretariat, continually get a black eye as the international community asks in righteous indignation the absolutely justified questions. Why can't the UN stop the war in Ukraine? Why can't the UN stop the tragedy in Sudan? And many others. The answers to these questions do not lie on the doorstep of the UN Secretariat or the organization as a whole. The buck always winds up on that horseshoe-shaped table of the Security Council. That is where the blockage is. In my opinion, the biggest obstacle for Security Council members to engage in intense diplomatic negotiations in the search for compromise and give and take, in short, everything that diplomacy provides every tool for, is the veto power. The 5 permanent members of the Security Council, or P5 for short, possess an enormous advantage over the remaining 188 members of the organization, because they won a war 80 years ago. The elimination of the veto power would compel the most powerful countries on the Security Council to engage in more diplomacy and hard negotiations, hammering out shrewd negotiated compromise decisions, thus palpably improving the international scene and saving countless lives. The veto also hampers the selection and work of the United Nations Secretary General, as an individual, but importantly as an institution. This predicament is likely to persist until such time as the Secretary General, as an institution, is no longer totally under the control of the P5 of the Security Council and has the latitude to perform as the UN Charter stipulates and the world expects of this office. We are for all these positive things to happen, however, these 5 countries should demonstrate outstanding leadership and collectively renounce the principle of unanimity of the Permanent 5, also known as the veto. More so, that all 5 of these member states have many other advantages going for them that will keep them primus inter pares anyway. But that, unfortunately, is not practically feasible anytime soon in the absence of a mindset of strong multilateralism, informed by a modicum of altruism, reinforced by enlightened self-interest. The reality is quite different. International law in all its aspects is sidelined. Arms control and disarmament are no longer considered relevant and are cast aside. The multilateral state of mind is replaced by national egoism. Humanity finds itself facing increasingly complex, interlocking, truly existential challenges in a situation of a near total breakdown in multilateral thinking and action, with a return to national egoism among the leading nations of the world, and primarily the Security Council permanent members. To say that the world is in transition would be an understatement and naive simplification. We are living today, what we're living today is not a routine change of landscape, rather a pivotal moment, a change of eras, which occurs only every other century or so, with the emergence of a new economic and social paradigm. Together, all of the above have created a world of great danger, even by the standards of the classic Cold War. It is not yet a world war, but is certainly a world at war. The element that is mercifully missing from our current predicament, and which prevents us from stating that we are already in a full-fledged world war, is the absence, for now, of direct hostilities among the major powers. Therein lies the dwindling window of opportunity for seasoned, determined, and creative diplomacy based on stable judgment and statesman-like approaches to international affairs, something that in today's reality seems to be a rare commodity indeed. Diplomacy, both bilateral and multilateral, is sidelined and major efforts are required to refocus them. Yet it is the only tool that can and should put an end to all these devastating wars and bring about stable and sustainable peace. At the risk of posing a rhetorical question, can the members of the international community rise above their national interests, whether political, economic, or geographic, and generate and pool the essential political will and statesmanlike vision intrinsic to improving the current state of affairs? Here's where all you come in. Youth is humankind's biggest asset, its reservoir of talent, of energy, and optimism. In the next few days, you will engage with each other as representatives of countries from all over the world to find solutions to problems through constructive debate and exchange of ideas. Your generation is witnessing this world of unprecedented change and danger, and your generation is the one that is called upon to tackle these existential problems that our generation, unfortunately, is passing on to you. Those of us who have worked on these issues in real life and failed, are proud of your commitment to begin looking for solutions to these problems through activities such as BIMUN. Indeed, we are counting on you. The Model United Nations is a very special experience, which tens of thousands of boys and girls from all over the world have gone through in the some 60 years of its existence. It is a school of international democracy, a school of life, and a school of the United Nations. I sincerely hope that you find today's conference productive and inspiring, and that your experience today encourages you to remain engaged on these and other important global issues. The enthusiasm, energy, earnest commitment, and maximalism of youth, coupled with professionalism, education, integrity, and a moral compass, are an unbeatable combination and humankind's best hope for the future. Thank you, and I wish you productive work.
Thank you, Mr. Chikvaidze. Now we will listen to the greeting video of His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General to the United Nations.
Dear friends, thank you for taking part in this Model United Nations and for believing in the power of global cooperation. You are leaders in your schools and communities, and this is a time like no other for all people to raise their voices and engage in our global community. We are living in turbulent times. Our planet is burning, conflicts are raging, and inequalities are deepening. Human rights are under fire. Mistrust and misinformation are polarizing people and communities, but none of this is inevitable. Time and again, humanity has shown that when we unite to tackle our greatest challenges, change is possible. The United Nations itself is a good example. Since 1945, it has been the place for countries to unite behind global solutions to global problems. We need that same spirit of global solidarity today. And we need your ideas, energy, determination, and voice. The member states of the United Nations recently adopted the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration on Future Generations. These initiatives are designed to strengthen multilateralism and to actively engage young people in deeper and more meaningful ways. I firmly believe that your voices must count in the way decisions are made, strategies are established, policies are defined, and actions are implemented. And I have no doubt that your Model United Nations experience will help develop those skills even more. Let's keep working to build peace, heal divisions, and extend a hand to those in need, especially the most vulnerable. The United Nations is your ally in this important journey. We will never give up fighting for a future of peace, dignity, and prosperity for everyone, everywhere. And I'm counting on you to be a force of positive change to help get us there, and I wish you every success. Thank you.
Antonio Guterres. Now we are going to move on from the speeches to introduce the committee chairs and their rapporteurs. If you hear your name, please stand up. And to the audience, please only clap after we read the topic of the committees out loud.
The chairpersons of the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice are Mr. Huba Okalicsányi and Mr. Marlon Michaels. Their rapporteur will be Ms. Cseh Blanka Zóra. Their topic will be strengthening international legal frameworks to abolish the use of capital punishment.
The presidency of the Counter-Terrorism Committee consists of Mr. Márton Mátyás and Mr. Ágoston Kis, and their rapporteur, Mr. Hernát Bence Bernát. They will debate about assessing the effectiveness of and improving existing counter-terrorism frameworks against Boko Haram in the West Africa region.
The presidents of the Crisis Security Council are Ms. Luisa Lukács, Mr. Miklós Kovács, Mr. Auven Sótan, and their rapporteur, Mr. Csanád Török. They will also partake in solving the crisis.
The presidency of the Disarmament and International Security Committee consists of Mr. Nándor Sümegi and Mr. Maracsina Mihály and their rapporteur, Gassa Makele Dorottya. They will debate about promoting nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation in the Middle East with special attention to regional security concerns.
The chairpersons of the Economic and Social Council will be Mr. Zétény Benkő and Ms. Sára Marosvári. Their work will be assisted by their rapporteur, Mr. Németh Samu Levente. Their topic is balancing technological innovation and labor protection in the agricultural sector.
The Human Rights Council is going to be chaired by Ms. Anna Csurgai and Ms. Veronika Újfalusi. Their rapporteur will be Ms. Lázár Délené. They will also partake in solving the crisis.
The presidency of the International Criminal Court consists of Ms. Dorina Babett-Szabó and Ms. Erika Wagner. The rapporteur will be Ms. Sallai Dóra. They will examine limitations within the ICC's jurisdiction over alleged crimes committed by high-ranking political figures.
The chairs of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization will be Ms. Isabella Fejt and Mr. Adam Dolezsel with the help of Ms. Berta Varga, their rapporteur. They will debate on evaluating the role of European Union in balancing the collective defense capacity of NATO and addressing the implications of militarization among NATO allies.
The presidency of the Security Council consists of Mr. Barnabás Vicsai and Mr. Bendegusz Bartók. Their work will be assisted by their rapporteur, Ms. Fanchala Tamara Terez. Their topic is taking measures to de-escalate the ongoing armed conflict in South Sudan and promote humanitarian relief and post-conflict reconstruction.
The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization will be chaired by Ms. Luca Péntek and Mr. Cije Viktor Van. Their reporter will be Mr. Ciraki Gyula. They will have their debate on addressing systemic historical bias in educational systems to support peace, tolerance and mutual understanding.
The United Nations Environment Programme will be chaired by Ms. Yvette Boschko and Ms. Kata Gombos. The rapporteur will be Mr. Annus Medard, and their topic will be identifying and mitigating the environmental impacts of artificial intelligence technologies with special regard to microchip production and data centers.
The presidency of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime consists of Ms. Romi Buloa and Ms. Natalie Kruger, and their rapporteur, Ms. Flora Orovica-Borsch. They will debate about establishing an international framework to regulate and prevent the distribution of emerging psychoactive substances.
The World Health Organization is going to be chaired by Ms. Yvette Luca Molnár, Ms. Eszter Szabó, and Ms. Cynthia Kozma. The rapporteur will be Ms. Kovács Nóra Zita. They will also partake in solving the crisis.
And last, but not least, the chairs of the World Trade Organization will be Ms. Salva Erimani, Ms. Leni Erler, and Ms. Juliana Poch, with the help of Ms. Kramer Pázmán Zoe, their rapporteur. They will also partake in solving the crisis. So, Now we are going to hold a 15-minute break, then we will listen to the speeches of student ambassadors. In the break, the QR code for the BIMUN app will be visible if you haven't downloaded it yet. Thank you.
Welcome back. We will continue with the speeches of the P5 ambassadors. Delegates will have the opportunity to ask POIs if the ambassadors are open. If you are recognized for a POI, please wait until the staff brings you the microphone. And regarding any right of replies, please bear in mind that such will be entertained after the speech of the current speaking delegate, and motion for a follow-up is in order. Please also keep in mind that due to time constraints, we might not be able to entertain more than 2 POIs. And we would like to ask all nations to keep their POIs in a form of a question and concise. And to the ambassadors, please put your device on airplane mode so it doesn't mess with the microphone system. First of all, we will be starting with the speech of the French Republic. Delegate of France, you have the floor.
Most esteemed Presidents of the General Assembly and Secretary General, honorable chairs, distinguished fellow delegates, and dear guests. 8 decades ago, the United Nations was established upon the promise of safeguarding and maintaining international peace. Having endured the devastation of 2 world wars, the international community adopted the United Nations Charter in response to unprecedented global devastation. 8 decades ago, the world earned the right to dream of such future, and today, the world still deserves that very same optimism. Together, we built institutions, drafted resolutions, and declared our fundamental faith in the dignity of all people. France stands both as a founding member and a permanent guardian, firmly committed to the UN with its engagement to multilateral cooperation at the core. Yet, the international community stands divided, with nations increasingly questioning the effectiveness of multilateral institutions. Today, we face a striking contradiction. In the very nations that once turned to multilateralism as a necessity, nations that helped build this institution in the shadow of global conflict, are now questioning its relevance and effectiveness. Dear delegates, the complexity of our world is not a reason to abandon our ambitions, nor to abandon our commitments. Rather, it is precisely the contradiction that reminds us why those commitments were made in the first place. Complexity is not an excuse for withdrawal. It is a call to listen, to learn, and to foster progress with renewed determination. During this conference, France stands ready to mediate and to engage in constructive dialogue, anchored in the belief that privilege of a permanent membership carries responsibilities that extend far beyond narrow national interests. As the Security Council is frequently stalled by division, France has consistently championed dialogue over deadlock and demonstrated restraint in its use of veto power. Let us conclude with a message we hope resonates beyond this assembly. As Pericles once observed, what you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is wound into the lives of others. Our legacy is not carved into stone, it is wound into the lives of those we serve. The charter we inherited was not a monument. It was insurance stitched into every fabric, every nation's flag it signed it. Vorar se pouvoir. To want is to be able. Let us demonstrate through our work at this conference that we still believe and that we still wish to build upon what has stood for the past 8 decades. We remain committed not only to preserving that promise, but to strengthening it for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the delegate open for POIs?
Yes, any and all.
Are there any such in the House? If so, raise your plackets high now. Republic of Korea, followed by DPRK. Republic of Korea, you've been recognized.
Our question is to you that you have mentioned and highlighted the importance of UN and the roles of, for example, the delegation of France. What are some past actions that were taken by the France itself with the help of United Nations?
There have been countless instances where France has distributed humanitarian aid and contributed to diplomatic processes with the help of the UN.
Thank you, DPRK.
We would only wish to ask if the delegate of France is so committed to upholding all these international laws, what are they still doing with the Central African franc in Africa? What is this neo-colonialism that has not stopped?
First of all, we would emphasize the fact that France is only contributing to the development of such nations using that specific currency. Furthermore, we would like to emphasize, as we did in the past before, that this is merely a transactional actions which we hope will commit to the long-standing and prosperous future for these nations.
Thank you. Does the delegate yield the floor back?
Yes, we yield the floor back to the presidency.
Now, we will move on to the next ambassador speech, the ambassador speech of the delegates of the People's Republic of China. Please, delegate, approach the floor.
Your Excellencies, Secretary and Deputy Secretary General, President and Deputy President of the General Assembly, honorable chairs, fellow delegates, distinguished members of staff and press, ladies and gentlemen. The People's Republic of China addresses this assembly as a civilization of 5,000 years and a nation that has lifted 800 million people from poverty, therefore approaching every topic before us with the utmost seriousness. On the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, we maintain capital punishment as a tool of last resort, applied exclusively to the most severe crimes under mandatory Supreme Court review. China does not oppose dialogue on criminal justice reform. We oppose the imposition of one legal tradition upon all others under the guise of universal standards. On the Disarmament and International Security Committee, we are the only nuclear power with an unconditional no first use doctrine maintained since 1964. On the Middle East specifically, one state in the region possesses an undeclared nuclear arsenal, has never signed the NPT, and faces no international pressure whatsoever. This committee cannot credibly address proliferation, while that asymmetry remains unaddressed. On the United Nations Environment Programme, China is the world's largest investor in renewable energy and understands that technological development and environmental responsibility come hand in hand. We support binding international standards for AI infrastructure energy efficiency, mandatory environmental impact assessments for large-scale data centers, and an international e-waste framework with technology transfer provisions for developing nations who bear disproportionate burdens without having produced a proportionate share of the problem. On the Counterterrorism Committee, military operations alone do not defeat ideological movements. Boko Haram persists because poverty, governance deficits, and marginalization persist. We support the African Union's multinational joint task force, but insist military measures be accompanied by comprehensive development investment. A committee producing only military recommendations has not understood the problem it was asked to solve. On the Security Council, South Sudan's crisis demands genuine commitment. China has been among the largest UN MIS contributors and supports reinforced humanitarian access, enhanced civilian protection mandates, and African Union-led political dialogue with UN support. This being said, we have concluded our statement and wish the very best of luck to all their delegates in their committees.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Yes.
Are there any such in the House? If so, please raise your placards high now. Israel followed by India. Israel, you have been recognized.
Ja. We thank this amazing speech from the delegate of PRC. If the PRC would like to achieve peace so badly, why is it building a massive new military outpost in the South China Sea with over 15 square kilometers of land with helipads and long runways possible for bombers and military airplanes to land?
Thank you, delegates, for your question. This question, we do not see the reality of it, since we, for over 2,000 years, have maintained sovereignty over this sea. We have had administrative presence, fishermen, and military presence in that region. The 9-dash line confirms it.
Thank you.
India has been recognized.
The delegate of China mentioned in their speech that they are the only country in the world to have a no first-use policy on nuclear weapons. However, is the delegate aware that there are other countries, including India, who also possess a no first-use policy on nuclear weapons?
Thank you, delegate, for your question. Yes, we are aware of this matter, but we have maintained it for the longest period of time, and we have the smallest nuclear arsenal in the world. While the US and Russians have thousands of nuclear warheads, we only have a tiny fraction of these warheads.
Motion to follow up.
It will be in order.
How is the delegate aware that just because that they have possessed nuclear weapons for the longest amount of time in any other nation in the world, it doesn't mean that they are the only nation to possess a no first-use policy?
Thank you for your question. We are aware of this.
Thank you, delegates. Thank you.
Delegates, please only clap after the speech.
Thank you, delegate. Please yield the floor back to the presidency.
We yield the floor.
Now we would like to ask the ambassador of the Russian Federation to approach the floor and deliver their opening speech.
Honorable Secretaries General and Presidents of the General Assembly, esteemed chairs, fellow delegates, and dear guests. If we look at the news today, we see that the world and the UN as we know it are falling apart. The order of the world is rapidly changing, both economically and socially, as past powers and economies are being replaced by emerging new superpowers, and the roles in geopolitics and the economy once thought were set in stone are starting to shift. However, when a nation wishing to make a difference and hoping for wider inclusivity tries to challenge the current status quo, they are faced with nothing but rejection from the international community. This is what defines our goals for this conference: to put an end to this rejection, the rejection displayed by the Western world and the Western hegemony, to challenge the current order through dialogue, fruitful debates, and wide international cooperation, all while including the interest of countries overlooked and demonized by the self-proclaimed guardians of peace. While the declining West is desperately trying to hold on to the remnants of the past, condemning and deploring those nations wishing to introduce a new perspective into the global reality, the Russian Federation chooses the new world order, chooses to include the perspective of the other side, and refuses to stick to the norms imposed by the global West just to keep their dominance unbroken. Delegates, the Russian Federation is here to stay. We are here to stay. Are the problems and crises we see here every day, the long since unresolved nuclear tensions in the Middle East, the increase of popularity of drug use in the younger generation, the systematic bias all across especially the Western media and schooling systems, and the emerge of more and more violent terrorist groups. All the signs of a world dominated by the West that is slowly ruining, cracking, and falling to pieces, eventually destroying itself. In these times, delegates, all we can do is to welcome the changes and embrace them, instead of hopelessly clinging onto a world order that has had its days numbered for a long time. We are happy to know that numerous member states, our great allies, have already joined us in our views and our noble fight for a new world with peace, equality and economic growth, for a world where national sovereignty matters more than the interests and personal beliefs of dominant nations and their leaders. However, our hearts are still aching with sadness because some of the delegations sitting here with us still decide to not let go of their beliefs and up to this day continue to try and undermine the creation of a world, of a United Nations, which is more equal, more efficient, and more inclusive and up-to-date to today's version of the Earth. Despite the advocacies of all these nations, the delegation of the Russian Federation arrives at this conference full of hope, hope for cooperation, hope for new joint efforts, and hope for the creation of a new, better world. Thank you. We are open for any and all POIs.
Are there any such in the house? If so, raise your plackets high now. Greece, followed by Mali.
Thank you, Delegate, for this speech. We would like to ask how the delegate has claimed in their speech that they are trying to make a difference, yet it has been in conflict with Ukraine for 5 years. What does Russia have to say about these actions?
Thank you, Delegate, for your wonderful question. The conflict that the delegate has mentioned must have been a reference to our special military operation going on in Ukraine, which is, in fact, actually making the difference the delegate has just mentioned. The Russian people in Ukraine are oppressed. We are making a difference and we are saving our people. Thank you for the question again.
Thank you.
Delegates, clapping is not in order right now. Delegate of Mali.
Thank you for the speech, Delegate. What's the delegate's opinion on the newly reformed Wagner Group's public image and its international sanctionization?
Can we ask the delegate to please speak up and repeat their POIs because we couldn't hear it?
Could the delegate please speak up?
What's the delegate's opinion on the newly reformed Wagner Group and its public image and its international sanctionization?
Thank you, Delegate, for your wonderful question. To this question, we can only say that Wagner Group is actually a private military group, and as such, does not hold account to any of the UN member nations. Therefore, we cannot neither account for their actions nor provide further information on them. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you. Does the delegate yield the floor back?
Yes, we do. We yield the
Thank you.
floor back to the President.
So now we will move on to the next P5 nation. The delegate of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland has the floor.
Delegates, please only clap after the speech.
Most excellent presidents of the General Assembly, esteemed Secretariat, honorable chairs, fellow delegates and distinguished guests. Over 80 years ago, the peoples of the world that had suffered in the two most brutal conflicts mankind has ever seen came together, determined to save future generations from their fate. The United Nations was founded to preserve and guarantee liberty, peace, and human dignity. These principles that were agreed upon by all nations, unfortunately, no longer seem to be non-negotiable, as international law is increasingly ignored by far too many countries. The Russian invasion of Ukraine and the wars in the Middle East have shocked the world, and as a consequence, the British people once again had to realize that peace and liberty are not to be taken for granted. His Majesty's government believes in each nation's right to defend itself and to preserve their citizens' liberties. And as such, we continue to support the Ukrainian people in their fight for freedom. At the same time, though, we must also state that the right to self-defense cannot be used as an excuse for war crimes and crimes of aggression. we express our hope that the recently agreed ceasefires in the Middle East open the way towards a peaceful settlement of the conflict. In the meantime, though, His Majesty's government calls upon the Iranian government, as well as on our allies in the US, to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and to no longer hold world trade hostage. The livelihoods of millions are at stake. With the greatest regret, we have also noticed a decline in individual liberties around the world. When the truth is exiled from public discourse, when governments act against independent journalism or against a partial judiciary, then they act against their very own people, to whom they are accountable. Facing a global return of nationalistic sentiments, His Majesty's government reaffirms its commitment to international cooperation, especially on humanitarian issues. We may be divided by languages, religions, cultures, or by borders, but we are all humans. We should accept our differences, promote tolerance, and embrace what we have in common. The United Kingdom believes in these United Nations. We believe in the importance of international cooperation, as no country is capable of steering through the waves of this ever-changing and complex world on its own. We, the peoples of the United Nations, must return to a global order based upon international law that upholds the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. May God save the King.
Thank you. Clapping is ordered after the speech. So is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any at all?
Are there any such in the House? If so, please raise your placards high now. Yeah. Iran, followed by Democratic People, Republic of Korea. Yeah. First, Iran has been recognized.
Thank you for the fine speech, delegate. However, the Strait of Hormuz just reopened a few minutes ago. What is the delegate's opinion on that?
If the delegate states the truth, that both the Iranian government and the US government came to agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, then we very much welcome this agreement, as the livelihoods of millions, as we mentioned, were at stake, and world trade must be free again. Thank you.
Thank you.
DPRK.
Thank you. And our question is, the delegate called for the lifting of the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, but the US has also created a blockade on this strait. So can the delegate clarify on who exactly they're calling upon?
Thank you, Delegate. As we have mentioned in our speech, we call upon both the Iranian government as well as upon our allies in the US to reopen the strait. So we call upon both nations to lift their blockade.
Thank you.
Okay, so since there are no more POIs, please, Delegate, yield the floor back to the Presidency, and now clapping is in order.
The floor is yielded.
Now we would like to call upon the United States of America to deliver their opening speech.
Honorable Secretary General, Presidents of the General Assembly, dedicated organizers, respected chairs, and dear fellow delegates. In today's modern world, the very idea of freedom is under relentless attack. While globalist elites sip champagne in Geneva, the forgotten men and women of the world watch their sovereignty, their security and prosperity slip away under disastrous globalist trade deals, reckless open border policies, and endless bureaucratic meddling. Hardworking citizens watch their once prideful nations erode and their so-called fundamental rights evaporate the moment chaos crosses their borders. And what does United Nations do about this? After endless bureaucratic meetings, reports, and pathetic, strongly worded letters, the results are still the same. Absolutely nothing. Those days are over. In North America, the radical left tried everything in their power to ruin the greatest nation in history. They rigged institutions, poisoned the minds of our very own citizens with propaganda, and installed a weak, confused puppet whose weakness invited mockery from every corner of the globe. They tried to flood our beautiful culture with a globalist migration disaster. They failed. The Biden era was a humiliating chapter of inflation, crime, open borders, and national weakness. The world was laughing at America. We were an absolute laughingstock. Well, they aren't laughing now. Since President Donald J. Trump stormed back into the White House, the United States has delivered results, not rhetoric. We have sealed our borders with the strongest enforcement in history, ending the invasion that brought drugs, crime, and chaos. We have rebuilt the most feared military on earth, restoring peace through unmatched strength. Our economy is roaring, record-breaking stock markets, explosive GDP growth, factories streaming home, and tariffs bringing hundreds of billions of dollars back to the American workers. We forced NATO allies to pay their fair share and finally stop freeloading on the American taxpayer. We stopped endless wars, rejected the failed Paris Accord and the WHO power grab, and placed America first without apology. And to the dictators in Caracas and the radicals in Tehran, it's over. It's merely a matter of time. We saw how Nicolas Maduro was taken down in hours, not years, ending the narco regime's grip on our hemisphere. We saw Operation Epic Fury crush the nuclear ambitions of the mullahs. The United States no longer begs for permission to defend its interests. We act decisively, protect our people, and leave the enemies of freedom with nowhere to hide. Like it or not, the golden age of America has arrived. The United States is unbreakable, unapologetic, and respected once more, like never before. God bless the United States of America, and may this conference serve the cause of real peace and real prosperity. America first, America first, America first. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the delegate open for POIs?
Any and all.
All those nations wishing to ask a POI, please raise your placards high now. Republic of China, Taiwan, followed by Saudi Arabia.
Thank you for your speech, Delegate. How does the United States of America justify the force and aggressive foreign policy used regarding Iran with no evidence on a planned attack by Iran on America?
Thank you for the fine question, Delegate. We believe that Operation Epic Fury in Iran was absolutely needed in this situation. We have seen how more than 2 decades of sanctions and bureaucratic talks achieved nothing. And we are done with the UN sitting by the side and just watching these catastrophes unfold. We believe that Iran has to be stopped now. We cannot wait because these people are suffering. And we, as the greatest nation in the world, feel responsible to defend everyone who is attacked by the dictators and radicals in Tehran. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you for recognition, and thank you for your speech, dear Ambassador. You mentioned that the economy is thriving. How can you justify that America's economy thriving is affecting the rest of the world's economy because they keep posturing and putting sanctions on other countries, posturing through military action?
Could the presidency ask the delegate to rephrase that question?
Could the delegate please rephrase that question?
Yes. does the United States justify that they're affecting the global market badly just to improve their own global market?
Thank you for the fine question, Delegate. First of all, we have to state that we refuse to apologize for protecting our own people. We believe that the tariffs by Donald J. Trump were absolutely fundamental to protect our own people. We have seen that they have brought back almost $300 billion to the American workers and our economy. And they've also brought back factories such as Intel and Samsung to American soil. So we believe that in our modern, uncertain times, we always have to put America first. Thank you.
Thank you for the answer.
Thank you. Does the delegate yield the floor back?
We yield the floor back to the presidency.
Thank you very much. Now we are going to listen to the 8 speeches of the selected non-P5 ambassadors. And we are also going in alphabetical order.
Okay, so first of all, the Federal Republic of Nigeria has the floor.
Dear Presidency of the General Assembly, dear Secretary General, dear Deputy Secretary General, dear President of the General Assembly, dear Deputy President of the General Assembly, dear Chairs of the Conference, dear Rapporteurs, dear Delegates, dear staff, dear press, and at last but not least, dear guests. We stand at the gates of a new world order, one never seen before. As major powers' influence starts to waver, the ones who were called small and weak now have the opportunity to emerge as the new leading powers of the world. This, however, can only be achieved by cooperation and mutual agreements, not through unnecessary wars and desperate attempts of neocolonization. This is the concept of imperialism, the misuse of power without following laws, showing empathy, or having morals. This has been a frequent re-emerging element of history, which can be observed to this day by looking at the actions of certain countries, mainly France, Russia, and the United States. The French have never stopped colonizing. It is this simple. A sum of 14 fellow African nations are the target of French neocolonizers, which is the so-called region of France-Afrique. The insidious French government exploits these nations by having control of their shared currency and collapsing their economy. Russia may only be a shadow of its previous self, but it has kept its main agenda, to conquer and oppress neighboring countries. Unfortunately, with less luck this time. The war in Ukraine is unacceptable and should not be tolerated. Naturally, we show our compassion to our fellow Ukrainian comrades. And we haven't even mentioned the recent actions of US President Donald Trump. Although American imperialism has not started with Trump, it certainly reached its peak under his second term as president. We could go on and on about the unprovoked and unnecessary wars and conflicts that this man has started, but we'll keep it short because the delegates would get bored. The invasion of Venezuela, the war on drugs in the Caribbean basin, airstrikes in Syria, Somalia, and Yemen, threats on Greenland, and now the war in Iran are all threatening to upset a long-standing balance between nations. Delegates, this should not be tolerated. This should not be accepted. Today, a new era shall start, an era in which not a few dominate, but the many are stronger together. This is why we call on our fellow African comrades. In the past, we were oppressed, exploited, and taken advantage of. But it shall end today. Let us work together, let us cooperate, and let Nigeria show a leading example as one of the biggest powers in the global south. Together, we shall emerge as the greatest continent once again. Thank you.
Clapping is not in order. We will entertain the right of reply of the delegates of the United States. No. France. So first of all, delegates of the United States, rise and state your point.
Thank you for the recognition and thank you for this interesting speech, delegate. The United States of America is deeply offended by the comments of the delegate who said that Mr. Trump, the greatest president of all time, started more unnecessary and unprovoked wars and invasions. We would like to clarify that these were not invasions. For example, in Venezuela, we did not invade Venezuela. We freed the Venezuelan people from their dictator. There was no military invasion of Venezuela. Furthermore, there was no military invasion of Iran. We think that there were no military interventions that were unprovoked because everywhere where Mr. Trump intervened, there were reasons why he intervened, and where he didn't intervene, for example, in Ukraine, where he didn't intervene actively, the European Union could help there. And so we are offended by the comments of the delegate because we did not invade any country unprovokedly, thank you, and any other country without provocation. So we did not have any invasion, thank you.
Right of response?
It will be in order.
Thank you. So we believe that this right of reply is completely unserious. We can't take it honestly seriously. We believe that all of these invasions, we stand by this, what we said, because they were completely unprovoked, they were completely unnecessary. When one looks at the invasion of Venezuela or the war in Iran, they can see that there was no reason for them. Those are unprovoked conflicts, and the only reason for them why they started was the interest of American oligarchs, and yes, that's it.
Since the United States of America has sometimes ignored international law, it is somewhat obvious to state what the delegate of Nigeria has stated, but we would like to ask the delegate of Nigeria to apologize due to their aggressive remarks, such as imperialistic behavior, as it is not so diplomatic.
We apologize for the manner on how we said these facts.
France.
Is the delegate criticizing France because it is guilty or because France is convenient? Can the delegate name one nation with influence in Africa they do not accuse of exploitation? And finally, if France completely withdrew tomorrow, what is Nigeria's immediate replacement plan?
Right of response?
It will be in order.
First of all, we don't understand this right of reply as it is a question, not claims on how we've offended France. So, first of all, we don't see why we should apologize. And second of all, it is very clear when one studies what happened in Africa during the 20th century, on how these past colonies of France are still being exploited to this day. So we would like to raise awareness on this, because unfortunately many people around the world are still not aware of this fact. And we don't believe that we should apologize for anything of what we said.
So the delegate of France rather stated a POI rather than explaining their offense. So the apology is not in order. Okay, so now we'll move on to the POIs. Are there any such in the house? If so, please raise your placards high now. Chad and Russia. Chad, you have been recognized.
Thank you for the fine speech, delegate. Nigeria is one of the strongest growing economies, not only in Africa, but in the entire world. However, many other African and Central African countries are still in very fragile economic, political, and social states. In what measures is Nigeria open to additional bilateral trade with those countries to strengthen Africa and to bring the continent back to its full pride?
Thank you for the wonderful question, delegates. Yes, we are aware of the fact that many nations and countries in Africa are still in a poor economic situation. This can be, a main reason of this is, as we stated, the exploitment by France on these nations. And we have been in the past, and we continue to do this to this day. We are cooperating with as many nations as we can in Africa. We are part of ECOWAS, the regional body which helps helps in aiding this. So yes, we are still open to any mutual agreements and trades, and we support all these nations that were exploited in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we will entertain the right of reply of the delegate of France. Rise and state your point, delegate.
Thank you for the recognition. We would just like to say that we would like to request a formal apology due to the ambassador's multiple mentions of France's malicious acts in Western Africa. France has recognized our past colonial actions. However, currently in the state of the world today, France is not a colonial power, and it is wrong to claim so. Any acts we do in Western Africa are to stabilize the region, and thus we would like to request a formal apology.
Right of response?
It will be in order.
So what the delegate has stated is not true. We haven't mentioned anything about French militia. What we've only stated is that France is exploiting many African countries to this day by controlling their currency and by collapsing their economies. And this is all true. There are many reports and evidence supporting this. So we have nothing to apologize for. Everything that we said are all facts. So yes.
Taking everything into consideration, the delegate of Nigeria has spoken about colonialization, but we believe that there has not been sufficient information for the delegation of France to be offended as a whole in this matter. So an apology will not be in order.
Point of order. Claiming that the French Republic is currently a colonial power is false.
Delegate, that will be overruled. Now moving on to the POI of the Russian Federation. Russia.
Thank you for the recognition. We heard that the delegate was very keen on roasting the Russian Federation for the things that they did, or so the delegate claimed that they did. However, we would like to just remind the delegate that currently Russia is the largest military cooperator of the Republic of Nigeria, and probably if Russia would have stopped the military trainings for the Nigerian militia and the supplyment of weapons to them, they would miserably fail their war against Boko Haram. What does the delegate have to say about that?
Thank you for the question, delegate. So first of all, we believe the term roasting is a bit inappropriate in this General Assembly, and we weren't roasting the Russian Federation. What we stated was that what are they doing currently in Ukraine is an imperialistic behavior, imperialistic action. Although this and although past actions and questionable actions of countries, we are still open to cooperate and have mutual agreements with every single nation. So yes, we are still glad that although some of the actions of the Russian, what was done by the Russian Federation in the past, we can reach certain mutual agreements, and we are we look forward to do so in the future as well.
Okay, so we'll entertain the right of reply of the Russian Federation. Russian Federation, please rise and state your point.
So we were deeply offended because the delegate of Nigeria has just called our acts imperialistic, when in reality our special military operation is merely an act to protect our people who are suffering in Ukraine, and we are deeply offended by the delegate regarding that noble act of heroism as imperialistic.
Right of response?
It will be in order.
So we don't understand how any of what we said, how conquering another nation or trying to conquer another nation through military means is not imperialistic. We don't see how this term doesn't fit. And the delegate keeps referencing to this conflict as a special military operation, when the Kremlin themselves have said and claimed that it has been a war since 2024. So yes.
Thank you, Delegate. So it's recognized by the UN that Russia has attacked Ukraine, but the word imperialistic is once again used in not a proper way. So the apology will be in order.
We apologize.
Thank you.
Yes, Delegate. There is a different POI name for that, and it's named Motion to Appeal the Chair's Decision, but Delegate can entertain it.
May the President please clarify to the House that Russia cannot be mindlessly throwing around claims about being Nigeria's former military cooperator, as they are only the second largest cooperator and not the first largest cooperator, as they mentioned.
Delegate, that will not be in order. We will be moving on.
Yeah, so please, Delegate, yield the floor back to the Presidency.
We yield the floor back to the Presidency.
Okay, and one more important announcement. From now on, 1 point of information will be in order per speech because of time constraints. So be aware of that.
Now moving on to the State of Israel. Please approach the floor and deliver your opening speech.
Honorable Secretary General, distinguished Deputy Secretary General, lovely President and Deputy President of the General Assembly, esteemed chairs, fellow delegates, dear guests and organizing team, Shabbat Shalom. Anti-Semitism is what we see whenever Israel's name is uttered, immediately bringing wrongful hate, misconceptions, and ridicule. People often mistake our country for a state that only wants total war and dominance. We view our ancestral homeland, the land of the Jewish people, as our rightful property. Nations and terrorist organizations who attack Jewish identity under a jihad or anti-Semitic ideology simply view us as too powerful to be ignored. We unfortunately live in a world where nations refuse to see our rightful claim to our own land, inhabited by our people for thousands of years. We do recognize that there are Palestinian minorities in the region, and therefore a large amount of the West Bank is governed by the Palestinian Authority, but we cannot ignore the threat of terror groups that will want the destruction of our country, which is why we keep all of Palestine under observation. The State of Israel seeks to save people living under dictatorial regimes through strong measures, not waiting and observing or just economically sanctioning the culprit countries. These methods do not achieve peace and stability. Israel has taken action against such organizations. We have effectively halved Hamas's numbers, eradicated a large portion of the Hezbollah army, and we are currently on the path to liberating the Iranian people. The international community can see that we are not the warmongering nation we are made out to be, when in actuality we are freeing people living under terror organizations and governments. We often receive scrutiny for our actions, considered as overkill and not befitting international cooperation. To nations that believe that, we ask this: is attacking 21 villages and communities, taking 250 hostages who were then tortured and raped, kept away from sunlight for over 2 years, and killing 85 of them befitting of international cooperation? Hamas did all this on October 7th of 2023. The attacks were made mainly in civilian areas, killing over 1,200 people in a single day, among which were also American citizens and citizens from other countries. This attack was prefaced by thousands of rockets launched to Israeli cities, seemingly targeting indiscriminately. This brutality is the direct proof that shows we need to take strong action. We decided that instead of doing nothing, we would erase all of these terror organizations. Many nations then worry that the collateral damage is unacceptable. We also want to minimize civilian casualties, which is why we only target military, government, and nuclear bases. However, we cannot do anything against those officials who hide under
Closing remarks.
Hospitals, schools, or residential areas. We warn civilians ahead of a bombing through phone calls, text messages, and leaflets dropped from planes, all of which no one does besides us. We hope that we have convinced member states that we are not the warmongering nation we are made out to be, and we hope that we can convince member states to engage in dialogue to achieve peace, stability around the world. Thank you. We're open to any and all questions.
Thank you. Are there any such in the house? If so, raise your placards high now. Pakistan.
Thank you. Thank you for the recognition. Our question would be, if Israel, this cancerous country, is only conducting military operations for political means and the protection of the people, as they said multiple times online and offline, then why are they currently restricting most humanitarian aid that was offered to be delivered in the region they attacked?
Thank you for the wonderful question. We believe that the humanitarian aid that is delivered by countries who oppose Israel to Gaza is dangerous to the stability of Israel. We think that nations who deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza simply hate Israel, and we believe that the reason we restrict it is because we believe it is dangerous that nations have openly stated that they will support Hamas and other terror organizations with arms, and therefore we think that we cannot allow any sort of humanitarian aid go unchecked, at least, so that we can make sure that no extra weapons get into terror organizations' hands.
Motion for a follow-up.
Unfortunately, due to time constraints, that will not be in order. Does the delegate yield the floor back? Yes. Thank you.
So now we'll move on to the next ambassador's speech. The ambassador's speech of Democratic People's Republic of Korea. You have the floor.
Esteemed Presidency and Secretary General, Secretariat, guests, MUN directors, fellow delegates. As Kim Jong-un stated, the sovereignty of an independent state can never be an agenda item for negotiations, and therefore the DPRK will never sit face-to-face with the US for that purpose. In this speech, centered on the theme of protecting sovereignty, we address the main threat to national independence, the United States of America. We tend to do so by asserting our positions across our represented committees, challenging the ICC's unfounded jurisdiction, defending our right to hold criminals accountable within the CCPCJ, exposing educational bias in UNESCO, and of course, confronting American interventionism in the Middle East under DISAC. Firstly, a country that doesn't belong in the Middle East is actively massacring the people of a nation in the region. Iran. For what? Baseless accusations of developing nuclear weapons, which even the IAEA failed to confirm according to its own chief. By employing illegal sanctions and targeting civilian infrastructure, the US has violated the NPT and the Iranian people's right to life. Such actions flagrantly breach UN Charter Articles 2.4 and 2.7, which prohibit the threat of force and interference in sovereign domestic affairs. Secondly, the ICC is merely a puppet of the West, as we have not signed the Rome Statute. It holds no jurisdiction over us. In fact, according to the General Assembly's own words, the DPRK bears the primary responsibility to investigate, prosecute, and sanction those responsible for serious crimes. We will continue to act as our leadership deems fit, not as imperialists demand. Thirdly, North Korea punishes those who committed crimes against the state and its people, as it would be foolish not to do so. Paradoxically, many of our critics agree with us. Let us list some nations where capital punishment is legal and which may surprise this assembly. United States, India, Saudi Arabia, Japan, Egypt, and hypocritically, our greatest enemy, South Korea. Fourthly, we reject the double standards of criticizing our education system as indoctrinating, yet turning a blind eye to coerced 5-year-olds pledging allegiance to the American flag. Likewise, South Korea perpetuates educational bias with historical fabrications aimed at defaming our nation and its great leader, Kim Jong-un. Delegates, how many nations have been torn apart by Western imperialism? How many more must be exploited before we say enough? The DPRK calls upon this assembly to resist. Today we stand up for what is right, and tomorrow sovereignty will be respected. Thank you. We are open to any POIs.
Okay, so first of all, we entertain the right of reply of the Republic of Korea and also United States. Okay, so first we'll entertain the right of reply of Republic of Korea. Please stand up and raise your point shortly.
Okay, the Republic of Korea is deeply offended by the statement that was made by the People's Republic of Korea about the education systems that are held in South Korea and educating the students in a biased way. And we are expecting an apology.
We thank you for your question. However, well, not the question, the statements. However, we have to recognize that South Korea does use fabricated lies about North Korea and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It does fabricate lies about Kim Jong-un because they teach things that we have not said publicly, things that are not official information, and they teach that in their schools. That is called fabrication, dear delegate, and we will not apologize for that.
So, since the delegate merely states an opinion about the education system and does not have offensive like tense, the apology will not in order. So, USA.
We are deeply offended by the fact that the DPRK has said that we attacked Iran since the IAEA inspections have found that they have had enriched uranium, which is to make atomic weapons. And we believe that is entirely not diplomatic to say that it was for a strategic reason.
We thank you for your question. However, firstly, we said massacring people of the region, which is true. They shot a bomb at a school, a girls' school, which was found to have been an American bomb. And secondly, no, the chief of the IAEA, well, yes, they do have a nuclear enrichment program. The chief of the International Atomic Agency has said that they are not capable currently of developing nuclear weapons in that time. Yet, the United States still attacked Iran, and those are facts.
So, since the statement was not in an aggressive manner, the apology will not be in order. We will move on to the points of information. So, is there one POI in the house? If so, please raise your placards high now. United Kingdom.
And please keep it brief, because we are short on time.
Thank you, Delegate, for your speech. If sovereignty is the delegate's supreme interest, how does the DPRK justify the reported deployment of thousands of its own soldiers to support Russia's war in Ukraine, an action that many view as an infringement on other nations' sovereignty?
We thank God for your question. However, it is very important to note in this topic Delegate is talking about that there were Russian people being killed in that region, and Russia asked us to help them. And that is a completely different thing, because we were helping the Russian people, and we were asked by the Russian government to do that. We do not believe that infringes on sovereignty, because that was agreed upon by our both nations. So that's our stance on that.
Motion to follow up.
That will not be in order due to time constraints. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the presidency?
Yield.
Thank you. Now moving on to the Republic of Korea. No, moving on to the Kingdom of... the Republic of India, yes. Please approach the floor and deliver your opening speech.
Honorable Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, President of the General Assembly, Deputy President of the General Assembly, fellow ambassadors, presidents, chairs, staff, distinguished delegates, and esteemed guests. The delegation of India rises today at a time when the world stands at crossroads, where conflict, technological advancements, and sustainability are deeply interconnected, and they're not just separate challenges. India believes that the question before this assembly is not whether we face crises, but whether we possess the collective will to confront them together. India's foreign policy has long been guided by the principles of peaceful coexistence and mutual respect, which are rooted in the philosophy of Panchil. These principles include mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, non-aggression, non-interference in internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence. We firmly uphold that sovereignty is fundamental, and that no nation's security should come at the cost of another's stability. In an increasingly tense world, India reaffirms its commitment to global peace and security, whether in addressing the risks of weapons proliferation, the persistence of armed conflict, or the evolving threats of terrorism. India advocates for solutions that are cooperative, balanced, and rooted in international law. Military responses alone cannot ensure lasting peace. Dialogue, trust building, and inclusive diplomacy remain essential. At the same time, the delegation of India recognizes the challenges of the 21st century, extend beyond traditional security. Technological advancements, particularly in AI, must not come at the expense of environmental sustainability. As innovation accelerates, so too must our responsibility to ensure that progress does not degrade the very planet we depend on. India therefore calls for strengthened global cooperation under frameworks adopted by UNEP to promote sustainable and responsible development. Furthermore, the delegate of India remains steadfast in its fights against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Extremism continues to exploit instability, poverty, and lack of opportunity. Therefore, India emphasizes that effective response must go beyond force, combining security cooperation, capacity building, and long-term development to eliminate the conditions in which terrorism thrives. The delegation of India also acknowledges the complexity of ongoing global conflicts, including the situation between Israel and Palestine and the US and Iran. India maintains strong diplomatic relations while consistently advocating for peace, the protection of civilians, and a just and lasting solution achieved through dialogue and mutual recognition. Delegates, as Mahatma Gandhi once implied the following meaning: you must be the change you wish to see in the world. Today, that change requires more than words. It requires action, unity, and responsibility. India stands for a world where security does not come at the cost of sovereignty, and where development does not come at the cost of sustainability, and where peace is not merely an aspiration, but rather a shared reality. Delegates, India does not seek to divide this assembly, India seeks to unite it. Thank you.
Delegates, clapping is not in order. Is the delegate open for POIs?
Any and all.
Are there any such in the House? If so, raise your plackets high now. Delegate of Italy. And please keep it short.
Thank you, Honourable Delegate, for the interesting speech. We applaud the recent historic India and EU trade agreement, but we are left wondering when India will take a firm stand against the authoritarian and illegitimate regimes of Russia and China and turn itself towards the liberal and democratic countries of the world and work for a free and prosperous future for all of us.
Can the delegate please rephrase and clear?
Yes, do please.
We are left wondering when India will take a firm stand against the authoritarian regimes of Russia and China and turn itself towards the liberal and democratic countries of the world.
The delegation of India always prioritizes the protection of its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the great Indian people. And all the Indian actions are guided by international law, including Article 51 of the UN Charter, which basically states that a nation has all its right to defend itself. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the presidency?
The delegate yields the floor back to the presidency.
So we'll now move on to the next ambassador speech. Please, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, delegates, please approach the floor.
Delegates, please, after the speech.
Honorable Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, President and Deputy President of the General Assembly, esteemed chairs, distinguished delegates, honorable guests, fellow ambassadors, and members of staff and press. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is honored to represent its people on the stage. In a rapidly changing world, Saudi Arabia remains committed to promoting stability, peace, and prosperity among nations with deep cultural roots. In a world where noticeably evolving global role, in which we recognize our responsibility to contribute to a more secure and cooperative society. Through national transformation programs, such as Vision 2030, the Kingdom is working on diversity when it comes to societal changes and economical opportunities for current and future generations through strategical investments that will ensure development. Saudi Arabia firmly upholds the principles of sovereignty, mutual respect, and that no country should interfere in another country's domestic affairs of another nation. We believe that dialogue and diplomatic cooperation is an essential tool for resolving conflict and building a long-lasting community. Furthermore, we are committed to strengthening international cooperation in addressing global changes, whether they are based on humanitarian support, cultural support, economic development, as we believe that progress can only be achieved through sustainable cooperation. In an interconnected world, no nation can succeed alone. Saudi Arabia stands ready to cooperate with other nations to promote understanding, mutual benefit, and sustainable growth. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia looks forward to engaging constructively with all the nations here and contributing to meaningful impact and dialogue that can lead to long-lasting solutions. Let us move forward not as divided nations, but as united diplomatic partners that are committed to a stable and sustainable future for all the generations with dreams, to ensure an inclusive development for everyone. Together, let us turn words and challenging actions into stable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the delegate open for one POI?
Yes.
Are there any such in the House? If so, raise the plackets high now. Delegation of India.
Thank you, Delegate, for your speech. The delegate mentioned that Saudi Arabia does not interfere with domestic relations in other countries, but Saudi Arabia actively intervenes in the domestic affairs of other countries, but primarily in the Middle East. Examples include influencing military outcomes in Sudan, interfering in Lebanese politics, and shaping economic policies in neighboring Gulf nations. How does the delegate justify these actions?
Thank you for the question. Our position remains that we support sovereignty and stability, not unilateral interference. For example, Saudi Arabia's actions in Yemen that have been very controversial, it was based on a part of regional security requested by the government itself, legal government, at the time. So Saudi Arabia only interferes when the legal government asks for.
Thank you. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the presidency?
Yes.
Thank you very much for the speech. Now moving on, we'd like to call upon the ambassador of Japan to deliver their opening speech.
Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, and distinguished guests. The delegation of Japan is honored to participate in this international conference. Our current world is under immense threat from newly emerging conflict, an ever-worsening climate change situation, and an uncertain global economic and trade situation. We strongly advocate diplomacy and peaceful resolutions to conflict, as our country has worked consistently to ensure world peace in the last 7 decades. As the third largest economy in the world with over $5 trillion in nominal GDP, the Japanese delegation is strongly committed for cooperation with all other member states in order to further fair global trade networks. We believe to prioritize our own domestic industries such as agriculture and technology, alongside our free trade policy. This balance can help our economic growth while keeping the local economy stable. In addition to these economic concerns, Japan is a supporter for the usage of renewable energy. We are interested in working together to fight pollution and increase our renewable energy sources. Our government has pledged to generate 36 to 38% of our electricity from renewable energy by 2030. We are a large fundraiser towards marine conservation effort and have recently developed strong funds dedicated towards solar, hydropower, and wind energy initiatives. These efforts have led to a decrease of carbon emissions and over $10 billion contributed towards renewable energy. Alongside environmental sustainability, health is one of Japan's most significant focus. Our elderly population has led to the development of advanced healthcare technology and large innovations towards elderly care. This strong focus on elderly care, combined with local factors, have made Japan one of the countries with the longest life expectancies. We have contributed in great quantities towards the development of new vaccines and global vaccination programs which have helped the lives of many. In conclusion, the delegation of Japan looks forward to productive discussions and fruitful collaboration with all member states. We hope to cooperate, advance, and promote diplomacy in the upcoming conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the delegate open for one POI?
Any and all.
Is there one POI in the House? If so, raise your placket sign now. Saudi Arabia, you've been recognized.
Thank you for your recognition. Your delegation has consistently mentioned economic growth. How does Japan plan to balance economic growth with environmental sustainability?
Japan is a strong supporter of renewable energy, and we have strongly contributed towards building new power sources that could help generate a lot of economic growth. As non-renewable energy sources are eventually being removed, we are working towards creating a new sustainable economic growth that can help both Japan and can serve as a model for the international community.
Thank you. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the presidency?
I yield the floor back to the presidency.
Thank you. Now moving on with the opening speech of the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany. Delegate, please approach the floor and deliver your opening speech.
Most esteemed Presidency, Secretary General, honorable chairs, distinguished guests, and last, but certainly not least, dear delegates. It is a true honor to be standing here representing our beloved country, the Federal Republic of Germany. Hate, hunger for power, cruelty. These are some words that describe today's global reality. Germany expresses its deep concern, grief, and compassion for the victims of ongoing conflicts, war crimes, genocide, and humanitarian crises. Recent conflicts, such as the war in Ukraine, remind us of the devastating consequences when international law is ignored and seriously violated. The global community cannot remain indifferent. We call for immediate accountability of perpetrators for endangering innocent civilians and threatening international peace. Justice and security must be every delegation's highest priority. Germany would like to further emphasize the importance of global cooperation. Issues such as armed conflicts, large-scale violence, environmental challenges, and economic difficulties cannot be solved individually. Organizations, namely the United Nations, the European Union, the International Criminal Court, and the International Committee of the Red Cross are extremely important in ensuring international peace and providing humanitarian assistance. We urge all delegations present to support the work of such organizations and cooperate so that we, who are all in this together, can help to improve the quality of life for millions. Fellow delegates, the future is ours. This conference is the perfect opportunity for us to help solve urgent global challenges. We must find solutions and work together to maintain and strengthen peace and stability for the generations to come. Germany wishes every delegate a successful and productive conference. We hope everyone can achieve their goals in the days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Yes.
Are there any such in the house? If so, please raise your placards high now. Sudan. Please keep it short, delegates.
Thank you for the fine speech, delegate. Does Germany support stronger sanctions or even military interventions to uphold international law?
Thank you for your question, delegate. We do support introducing targeted sanctions to enforce international law. However, we are strongly against military intervention because violence will only bring more violence.
Thank you very much. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the presidency?
The floor is yielded.
Thank you very much. Now we will be moving on to the delegate of Canada. Please approach the floor and deliver your opening speech.
Dear President of the General Assembly, executives, ambassadors, chairs, delegates, supervisors, guests, and staff. In her opening letter, respected Secretary General wrote that the global debate is increasingly defined by the convergence of security and justice. With the war being waged in Iran as well as Ukraine, this statement could not be more true. With deadly bombs being deployed daily by a press of a button, this statement could not be more true. With countries abiding to the words of their neighbors and not their international laws, this statement, once again, could not be more true. Delegates, what we are now witnessing is a failure of international order. As Billy Diamond, a Canadian Cree leader, once said, "Great obstacles make great leaders." Let us listen to this quote and follow its footsteps. Canada asks each one of you to extend a hand and work towards a world where their obstacles are forgone and great leaders are emerged. What the USA, along with the other countries, is proposing by the creation of Board of Peace is not extending a hand. It is taking a butcher's knife and chopping away the whole arm. President Trump's organization is dismantling old peace and creating unnecessary rivalry in the world already challenged by war, economic inequalities, and environmental changes. Threatening sovereign countries with invasion, kidnapping political leaders, shattering every chance at peace is now a daily reality. This is beyond any rational attempt of upkeeping democracy. Canada is a country willing to bring its aid and work together. As a country, and as such country, we appeal both to our allies and to those who consider us their rivals. Let us work together to stop the butcher's knife. We all need to hold the dismantling of democracy by working together, achieving compromise and extending dialogue until everyone can hear it loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the delegate open for a POI?
Any and all.
Are there any such in the House? If so, raise your placards high now. Okay. Delegates, that will unfortunately be overruled due to time constraints from the organizers, since we have to leave the venue in a very short amount of time. For one very short POI, delegate of Russia, please entertain it quickly.
Thank you for the recognition. Our question would be short. The delegate has mentioned the quote, "Great obstacles make great leaders." Does the delegate agree that Vladimir Putin is a great leader then, since we are by no doubt faced great obstacles on behalf of the Western nations who are ruthlessly sanctioning us?
Could the chairboard ask the delegate to speak up, please? We couldn't hear the question.
Delegate, please very shortly, speak up.
So the delegate has said the quote in their speech, "Great obstacles make great leaders." Does the delegate agree then that Vladimir Putin is a great leader, since we are faced great obstacles from Western nations, among them Canada, in the form of ruthless sanctioning?
As far as we are aware, Russia wasn't able to overcome such a small obstacle as Ukraine for over 4 years now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the presidency?
Yes, we yield the floor.
And with that, we will conclude the opening ceremony and the General Assembly.
We would like to express our gratitude towards Urania National Film Theatre for providing us with such a prestigious venue. Please, after leaving the Urania, we ask everyone to go back to the room of their informal meeting. From there, an organizer will lead every committee to the designated restaurant.
We wish you all a fruitful and fulfilling BIMUN conference with lots of new experiences and memories. Last note, please do not take your placards home and leave them on your seats. The House is now dismissed. Clapping is in order.